Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Profile
It is
GX
the one and
Christmas
only
Special.
Zeelo.
Yeah,
and
well,
Merry Christmas to all.
since
And
it was
happy
made around
holidays,
the end of
and whatever other
2017,
holidays you
the deck
celebrate.
may be a
It is
little,
very good time, and
you know,
I
we're
have
missing
a very
out on some
special
stuff,
present
but
for you.
you don't
Many
have
of you
to do.
have asked to see things, and I am going to show you
The
them.
rule is I have to show
I
a
have
deck
my
profile,
right
so
here,
yeah.
And I do not only have my deck. I have all of my decks, all of the very special occasions that I duel with,
So odds are
and
we'll get
always
spoiler
win
of
every single
episode
time. Right,
of
Time
season
Wizard?
2.
Yes,
No, you
that is
idiot!
right. So let us get right into showing the deck profiles, huh? Just go! Get out of here, Zeelo! Shoo.
Wow, even you don't like
I've just
yourself.
kicked Zeelo out so we can talk about the 3 decks he uses in the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, it's
GX
shocking to
Minecraft
hear him in
roleplay.
a different voice, isn't it?
Now, before we get into this, I would like to say thank you all for checking out this video. Thank you for enjoying the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series.
This
and
one is
of
awkward,
course,
which is why I'm
all
in the
other
corner
stuff
on
in
the
general.
right over
It's been a
here.
really good year, and I'm excited to see what next year has in store for us. So, happy holidays to you all. I hope it's just as good for you as it is for me. And let's get started by going into these
It's weird
decks.
hearing Zeelo without the
So
same amount of
we have
accent,
ourselves
isn't it?
here the Zeelo Bell deck, or Zeelo U-Bell, whatever you would like to call it. This
Season
deck
2
is
deck,
an
I
amalgam
assume.
of 4 different things that don't necessarily work together at all, but they seem pretty cool in this story. That's one important thing I would like to note, that these decks are not competitive. These are not your hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh! Player decks. If you want to see more competitive decks that are just meant to beat your opponent, make sure you go check out my other channel. That's where all that kind of stuff is on. You know, 2-time winner of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fight Club.
If you're trying to
Whatever that
fucking
means,
win,
whatever
you
that
do not
means.
use a
So
protagonist
you can check
deck.
out
But if
some
you
more
want to have
competitive
fun,
builds over there.
it's
But
fine.
this
I like
is to
using
get
Joey's
story.
deck, for
This
example.
is to get those crazy anime-style dual battle epic saga things. So that's what we're gonna go into here. Now, this deck has a very it pretty much has a core in the classic Zeelo deck. The Uriah, the Oreo deck. It doesn't really have any of the Red Eyes stuff in here. We're going to go from current to first order.
So we're descending order.
So, let's
newest to oldest.
Start with... You know what? It'll be easier to explain it the other way around. Let's go to the Zeelo RP Oreo.
Oh,
there
okay,
we go.
So we're going oldest to
the
newest
classic
then.
Zeelo deck, which I think is most of your favorite decks, if I can discern the comments well enough. So, this deck is all about bringing out the great and powerful Oreo, Lord of the Searing Flames, God of the Sacred Feasts. Or Sacred Beasts and Uriah, if you want to be picky about it, but
it's
we're
the
going to call it
stupidest thing
Oreo
I've ever
for
heard,
sake
but
of
it's
today.
also hilarious.
Now, obviously, since it has this, it has a load of trap monsters. So it's got the Zing Zen Hu, it's got the Metamorph Fortress, one of my favorites, a Statue of Anguish pattern, and of course the fan favorite Fairy Box, which has quickly become one of my favorites too. And of course,
it's
just
shocking
a bunch
how
of continuous
devastating
traps
it is, even in nowadays.
that, you know, some of them are banned in the current stuff. That's because we don't use them too often. We try to find a good balance here. That's not really abusing any of the cards, and I like to have a good mix of many different kinds of cards, so you guys can see fresh content in every Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel that we see, and it's not just me bringing out 3 Statue of Anguish patterns comboed with Tiki Souls every single duel. Because if I did that, I would win quite a bit more, but we don't want to do that.
We don't want to win.
In fact, I don't know why Mirror Force is in here. Usually it's Blazing Mirror Force, because this deck is also themed in fire. Uriah is Lord of the Searing Flames, so we got the Blazing Apache, we got the Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, we got different Jirak Velos, also a little bit of an Easter egg to the dinosaur decks I've ran. I suppose, guys, if you do want to see me go over all of the dinosaur decks, which I'm pretty sure is about 7 of them, that my other Yu-Gi-Oh! Character has used, make sure you show some support on this video. Leave
Probably
all
the
them
Val City character he's talking about.
Nonsense. And we'll see if we can make that happen. We'll see. But yeah, lots of fire monsters. We have Rose, Warrior of Revenge. Mostly so I can bring out some of these synchro things. Most importantly, the Black Rose Dragon, which, if you've been watching the recent bits of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, you can see why the Black Rose Dragon is one of the most important cards in the storyline.
Oh boy.
Because it's pretty insane. And then a bunch of other fun, just like fire-based things that we can summon sometimes. I really like using the Crimson Blader. It's a easy one to summon. Fun, not overpowered, stuff like that. And of course, because we got those Jirak Velos, we got some Evil Czar Lagia in here, and just a few other things.
Hey, Flame Basil
Sky
twice.
Palace, just because I do have 2 level 10s I can bring out here, so, you know, why
what,
not?
the 2?
I got the
Metal Reflect Slimes.
Metal Reflect Slimes, and the Uriah, so why not? And of course, Crazy Box. Crazy Box, I'm gonna hop out of character here for a second. This is a terrible card. It's not good.
No, it is.
It's a horrible card. It's not... It's so much fun, though. It's just so much fun.
It is, though.
So, I use Crazy Box
Everyone
often
has that
when I
guilty
need to nerf
pleasure
myself,
card. You know it's
and
ass, but you love
when it just
playing
feels
it.
right. And it feels right quite often, as you've
Except when
probably
you roll
noticed.
1, right, Zeelo?
Only a few spell cards here in this deck. We got the field card, and we only run one of them because, you know, why not? Got some other fire-based stuff, and then some just generic things. Graceful Charity and Pot of Greed are just good and kind of give more options of what you can do in the duel, which kind of helps in the roleplay. Even if it's the most, you know, viable or best to win option, it really opens it up to see what can create the best story in the duel. It's complicated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I don't always make the best moves. I'm sorry that I don't always win. But my priority is making the duel the most entertaining. So that's what we do, and I think it works out pretty well. We, of course, got the hands in here, because I like these fire hands. And
If there's
Time
any
Wizard.
freezing, it's not me,
Time
I
Wizard
hope.
is...
Well, he's quite fantastic. So, that's why he's in here. And he's pretty great, especially when he calls people stupid.
Well, you are stupid, you idiot.
yeah, we'll just scroll on through here, because everything else isn't really super important. You know, Circle of Fire Kings is like
Not a hard
fire
voice
type
to do,
monster
just do a
reborn.
generic
The things we
female
like
voice,
doing
but
in
then
the
add
roleplay.
some, like, muscular
When there's a card
sounds
that's like
to it.
super specific to the theme of your deck, and it does something like a card you would already use, why not use it? So I have Circle of the Fire Kings. I don't run a Monster Reborn in here, just because I feel like it fits the theme better.
It does.
It's not as good, obviously,
No.
but it fits the theme a whole lot better. And then all kinds of continuous traps just to power up Uriah, Lord of the Searing Flames. I meant Oreo, I'm sorry.
You forgot the
So
name,
that's
I'm
what we got for this
unsubscribing.
deck. Moving on to Season 2, Zeelo started using his Red Eyes deck. And as you might see, sometimes I have a lot of different variations of these decks, because sometimes when I'm going up against an opponent with a weaker deck, I like to play with a weaker version.
Makes sense.
Sometimes, like if a couple times when we do a double duel, sometimes I beef it up a little bit just so it's not, you know, too reliant on me getting all the cards I need, because in double duels,
crap.
you know, you only
Time
get to
out.
draw every other turn. So, this is what we have for the Red Eyes deck. We have 2 Red Eyes Black Dragons, just because...
They're the
when
main
you're-
thing
when
of the
you're working
deck.
with a deck for Zeelo, it's very important to just pick cards that sound funny when he says them.
Yeah, it does
So,
kind of.
for example, the Blazing Impachi. That's fun to say.
It is.
That's no fun. Rose, Warrior, that's just difficult. Oh, UFO Turtle's in there definitely because he's fun to say. The UFO Turtle.
Yeah,
And the Fox Fire.
it is one of the, yeah.
That's
Building
a
a
big part
deck
of
up,
deciding what cards go
fun
into
to
his
say
deck.
rather
We
than
got some other
good
cards
to
here.
say.
We got all Red Eyes nonsense. And I use Red Eyes for 2 reasons. One, because, you know, Red Eyes is kind of cool. It's a really iconic card in Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, I kind of wanted to, you know, do a little throwback to Tiger's Red Eyes deck, so it seemed like a fun idea. And it just seems like it fits Zeelo's personality a little bit. Oh, powerful cards I can just throw out there? Sure, let's try that. Who knows if he'll be sticking with that? We'll find out next season. But we have ourselves the Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon, really just a mix of things. A Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. There's a couple other Red Eyes cards that I have just like sitting down here that I decided like don't necessarily fit in the deck and I shouldn't really have in there. Oh yeah,
Paradox Fusion.
There's a lot
Paradox
of cards
Fusion
that
is one of
could
those
put
cards
in
I
this
always
deck,
wanted to run, but
just
I
have not
never
found
had a
good
use
reason
for
Zeelo
it.
to have all of them yet. Like Red Eyes Darkness Dragon, I do want to find a way to find a good story point.
I
to
mean, I
put
just
this
look at
into the deck,
Paradox
'cause it would
Dragon,
fit
just like,
so
I want to
amazingly
use
into
you,
the
but
deck.
I can never find
Like,
a
if I
good
did
reason
mix Red Eyes
to.
into the Yubel version of the deck, that's when this guy would come in. But, you know, it's not important right now. Right now, we just got the core going. We got our Red Eyes Archfiend of Lightning, because that's an insane powerful
It
card.
is.
This card is really difficult. Now,
Because it's a
obviously,
Gemini.
I could run multiple of these, but it is so good that I have a hard time running one of them. This card clears the field half the time it's out there, and that is kind of hard to work with for the other person who you're role-playing with. So, you know, I try to not to always use this card when I can help it, and with all the search power I have in this deck, you know, I often go with other options before just grabbing this guy, because he's insanely
Yeah.
powerful. Then we have just some, you know, standard things that support other guys. We got the Red Eyes Wyverns, pretty simple. The Gearfried is really good when you get to a couple of the equip card systems. And then I have Mass Dragon in here, kind of just to slow down the deck a little bit, because with all the draw power and search power, mostly search power.
Mass
that this deck
Dragon's
has in
also
it,
a searcher.
little something to calm
Mass Dragon, a stall
So Mass
card.
Dragon doesn't
Whatever.
necessarily fit with a Red Eyes deck, but hey, they're more
To be
dragons.
fair, though,
What can
it
I
does
say?
search something,
The
so it's not
baby
just there for
dragons,
fun.
they're pretty great. We got the Carbonetin, more Red Eyes stuff. And then, a thought that I had, or I think someone might have suggested it to me. Oh well, they're not getting credit for it. So, well, I threw a baby dragon into the deck, because we already have Time Wizard and Polymerization in this deck.
Why not
Obviously,
throw
we
in the
have to have Time
1000
Wizard.
Dragon?
So maybe I can actually throw a baby dragon in. He's a dragon, he fits fine. I always like throwing a couple weak cards into the roleplay decks. Get 1000 Dragon out potentially, and we did get him out once.
Well,
So,
that's
I
a
was
spoiler.
pretty happy when we did that. 1000 Dragon obviously is nothing special. 2,400
But
attack
he's
points, but
nostalgic.
considering you need 3 separate
He's
cards
got the same
to
stats as
bring him
Red
out,
Eyes,
and
but
neither-
come on.
Well,
It-
2 of
it's
them
one
aren't
of those
really good by
things you just
themselves.
feel like,
Time
oh
Wizard
yeah, I
used.
did that.
Come at me. But yeah, he's not the best. He's not the best, considering I can easily summon a Red Eyes Black Dragon, and he's just as powerful. Literally the exact same attack and defense points. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I was able to bring him out. We got Black Metal Dragons because they're fun, Blackstone Legends because they help me get cards out pretty easily, and then I decided to throw both the fusion cards in here
Ritual.
because that'll, one, slow the deck down, 2, give the deck a lot of flavor. Just really sticking with the, you know, the
It's
Red
weird to
Eyes
have
theme
someone
to it. And
say,
these cards are
I
actually
need to
really
slow the
fun to
deck
use. I don't
down.
get to use them that often, and
That's-
sometimes when I need to slow the deck
I
down a
know
little
why
bit,
it is
I
for the
throw a
sake of
couple more
story,
the,
but still, it's one of those
the
things you look at and you're just
ritual
like, wait, you
summoning
want to
cards in here
slow
to do
it down?
But they are fun. They have cool effects. So, next up we get to probably the best card in the deck, Red Eyes Fusion.
Easily the best card
This
of
is
the
a
deck.
stupid card. It's just stupid good. I have to limit myself to one of
It
these
is
or else-
stupidly good.
Ugh, it's really powerful.
All the cards I look at just say,
So,
using
we
summon
have
using
that,
the
and that
deck,
can
I'm just
bring out
like, that's
any of
too
these powerful
good.
monsters. We got the Archfiend, Black Skull Dragon, just come out, you know, just play one card to bring out a monster with 3,000.
I don't even mind any of the Shadal cards. The only card I don't like is El Shadal Fusion that
Same
says,
thing goes
hey,
for
just use the
Meteor
cards
Black
from your
Comet
deck,
Dragon,
and they get
even
their
more
effects,
attack
and all
power,
that extra
and
jazz.
even the Red Eye Slash Dragon,
Oh,
a little bit
hello.
more specific. But 2,800 ain't anything to mess around with, especially when you only have to play one card to bring it
True.
out. If you ran 3 Red Eyes Fusions in your deck, you'll be running a good Red Eyes deck. Considering, like, I can Red Eyes Insight to pull it to my hand when I have to, yeah, it's pretty good. Then we have Cards of the Redstone, just for a little bit of draw power, recycle some stuff in. Dragon Shrine, once again, not running Mirror Force, but Dragon Shrine kind of can serve as that, sort of, a little bit, not really at all. I was thinking of a different card. So, but Dragon Shrine's good for getting cards such as Blackstone, a Legend, into the graveyard. And then we have Delta Flyer in here as the only tuner that I have. Unfortunately, I can't really bring out Black Rose Dragon as often as I would
Red
like
Eyes
to
Wyvern's a level
with
4.
this. And, oh, what version of this deck even is this? Well, some of those cards weren't supposed to be in there. I don't exactly know. Maybe I'm just showing you the wrong version of the deck. But it's close enough. So we have the Silver's Cry in here as our Monster Reborn, because, well, it's very specific to this, obviously. We have the Inferno Fire Blast, not necessarily the best card, but it's, you know, really fun for roleplay. And then those fusion cards, the ritual cards. We have the Bottomless Trap Hole, the Red Eyes Spirit. Once again, it's kind of another Monster Reborn. I run one of these, one of the Silver's Cry. Seems pretty balanced from what I've seen. We have the Blazing Mirror Force, because we're still sticking with that fire theme.
Red Eyes says
We
focus
have
on
the
burn.
dice reroll in case we bring out a crazy box and want to do a little something
Mulligan.
special with it. 2 fairy boxes.
What crazy box?
because Zeelo was
Look at
learning
the
this is
extra
the best
deck.
card in his deck. And then a couple other just traps. Oh yeah, sorry, Space Dragster. That is a tuner I use to bring out Black Rose Dragon and stuff like that. Because Space Dragster is really convenient to use for
Now I
tuning
see what
and
that
just
one
bring
guy
them
said
out
when he
as well as
talked
any,
about the less
well,
focus
a
on
lot
luck.
of things that I have. So, yeah.
I guess they're just
Really
towards
nice.
the end of season
But the thing
1
is,
they
when I use
focus more
Delta
on
Flyer,
luck.
I can just put it with a level 4 and get Black Rose
The
Dragon
only
out
luck
here.
I already has in
When I
this
use
deck is
Space Dragster, I
reroll
can
and
only
Time
specifically
Wizard,
do it
but
with, like, this card. So,
maybe puts Crazy Box
I don't
in,
know.
but that's
it's really easy
it.
for me to bring out any Red Eyes and then bring out Crimson Blader. So, that's pretty fun. So, that's the Zeelo Red Eyes deck. Obviously, it's a tedious dance of not being overpowered, but still being really fun to play with. And he gets to say Red Eyes Black Dragon quite a bit. And one day maybe I'll throw in all the... Okay, this deck's too strong as it is. Maybe I shouldn't throw in... Like, I could easily drag it in here and have a 5-headed dragon in here. But
I'm not
that's
going
just
to.
dumb. That is just stupid powerful. So... We'll find a reason. We'll find a reason for Zeelo to get that card.
I'm
Anyway,
facing
moving
the
on to
final
deck
boss.
we're going to show you, which is the roleplay Yugioh deck.
Probably the most recent one.
Now, this is the deck that I'd probably say is the worst of the three. Just because it's focused in so many different directions.
I played a Yugioh deck at one point. It was utter shit, but it was fun.
Finally, the third deck we're going to look at is the Zeelo Yugioh deck, or the Zeelo Bell, or the dark, spooky, evil. So, we have
No, I'm not making the Mermaid Man edits.
And Uriah. And some other dark, spooky cards that would be fun to throw in. And some other different trap monsters. It's a lot of chaos. It has 3 field cards in it. This is probably the worst of the 3 decks, just because it's trying to mash 3-4 archetypes together.
Never a good sign.
It's also really kind of fun to use when you get the right setup going. So it's actually
that's how my Yugioh deck was.
Because we got some of the classic, continuous
wasn't to worry about you bounding the sacrifice every turn. I was going
quite often. Then we have the new Cyber Shadow Gardener, which is a pretty evil, spooky trap monster. Nightmare Wheel stayed because
once you bounded, once I got Terror Incarnate on the field, the fun started.
Because shadows, and then we kept Statue of Anguish pattern because Anguish, and we threw in First Monarch because
looks creepy,
dark, spooky, evil, and it helps to summon some of the many high-level monsters in this deck. Now with these teams,
maybe I will do
it
the
does give
Mermaid
me
Man
quite
edit.
a few openings.
You'll
I'm
find out
by
by the time the episode goes up.
And 2 Space Dragsters in here, so I can actually bring out the Sacred Dragons that he's been collecting. Of course, we have the Black Rose Dragon, but on top of that, we have the Iron Chain.
I love that card.
Livestream, a bunch of stuff.
How are you gonna make Lifestream
There's
all
plenty
levels?
of possibilities.
How are you gonna make Livestream? Does it need Power Tool?
Deck a little more often, but it is what it is. So we have ourselves all those trap cards. On top of that, we have the final attack orders, which we'll get to a little bit later. We have the 3 field cards, which we'll get to a little bit later. Then we have some standard spell cards. Then it comes to the massive amount of draw power.
Because it needs it.
So we can actually make this somehow work. There is like 7 cards of draw power.
Activate Quick Rush.
We have Dark World Dealings, which each player draws a card and discards one. Not necessarily always the best, but really handy when you're using Dark World monsters.
True.
We have Allure of Darkness, which I made sure to make these guys all super dark and spooky, except for Uriah.
He has to be.
So they can be, cast away to draw more cards. Really handy when you need to draw more cards. And then, of course, we have Drag Down to the Grave, really good for Dark World stuff, and 2 Terraformings. Now, the reason we have 2 Terraformings and only 1 of each card is because this deck is kind of specific into, I don't know which field card I'm going to need at the time. And if I don't have the full setup at the time, then say I don't have Uriah set up. And there's only 16 traps in this deck. Not even all of them are continuous. So the best case scenario is I'm going to have a 10,000 attack Uriah.
Really, the only trap cards you have that isn't continuous is Bottomless.
And we don't always need Gates of the Dark World because we might not have a Dark World set up on the field. And Savage Coliseum is even more specific. The way Savage Coliseum works is pretty much all monsters on the field must attack as long as they're in attack position.
But you get 300 whole life points.
This
another card in my Yugioh deck.
Final attack orders, which makes sure all monsters on the field are in attack mode. So this means anything that's on the field will have to attack. Now the reason I have this in this deck, it seems very specific, and it is, because Yugioh. Yugioh doesn't have any attack points and can't just go attacking monsters. But when
unlike
Yugioh
in the
attacked,
anime,
all that damage that would be dealt to Yugioh is reflected back at your opponent. So since this deck is really focusing on Yugioh, I thought it was important to get a few of those cards in here. And on
Yugioh can't even be an Amazon swordswoman. That's a
Terror
shame.
Incarnate and the Ultimate Nightmare, going with the anguish and nightmares and all kinds of other stuff that we have themed with this deck. Then we threw the Scapegoat to help with summoning, Torghast from the Underworld to help with the dark theme. Phantom of Chaos because it has a lot of potential.
Yeah, it does.
With actually, maybe it doesn't have a lot of potential because this stuff all has 0.
It could have potential, you know.
And then we have a bunch of Dark World things. I figured Dark World would be good to couple up with Yugioh, just because you can get dark monsters onto the field so easily, and Yugioh has to sacrifice monsters constantly.
Makes sense.
These guys you just discard and automatically summon them, or just summon them normally.
True.
So it is what it is. It's a pretty difficult deck to run, but pretty rewarding. And then, of course, we've already talked about Uriah and its strengths. Grapha is just pretty much the powerhouse of Dark Worlds, which can be summoned essentially just by attributing 1 card from the field and bringing him out from the graveyard. So a lot of potential for this, but a lot of room for failure.
Oh, fuck yes.
Yeah, no, it's fun, though. It's fun. We got all the sacred dragons. We got Uriah.
You got the crazy box.
Got
what's that thing between the rank 10 and the crazy box? I don't recognize that monster.
Big pile of nonsense. But it's a lot of fun. Anyway, that's going to be everything I have to go over. Once again, if you guys do love this video enough, we'll go over some of the stuff with the dinosaur decks later on.
Probably from Battle City.
So, you know what to do, show that support and all that. But thank you guys. Thank you for
this guy loves slipping into accents.
Whole year. Like, honestly, there's been a lot, and it's been great. So, more videos coming soon. Let me know which one of these decks were your favorite. The 1, 2, or 3. The Oreo, the Red Eyes, or the Yugioh deck. And, you know, Zeelo will be back eventually with the Season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. What am I saying? You guys haven't even seen the grand finale yet. Coming soon.
Well, toodles.
I'll see you next time.